السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. My dear brothers and sisters, welcome to this special edition of Real Problems, Real Solutions. It's your brother Gabriel Romaani from Positive Science Psychology Counseling. And today we have a very, very special guest. I cannot reveal her identity due to the sensitivity of this discussion, and I really, really appreciate her time. We've been working on this to get this thing moving forward for quite some time, and it started with us getting in touch over some videos that I posted, some different work that I've done over the years with regards to what's called SSA, same-sex attraction. According to what the sister says, and other sisters as well, alhamdulillah, may Allah bless them. Some obviously didn't have the courage to come forward and speak, but they are supporting the work they were doing. And I'd like to give a shout out to those sisters who are watching and who have contacted me and were brave enough to explain what they've kind of gone through. And but obviously it's not very easy for someone to actually come on an interview and discuss these sensitive issues about same-sex attraction in the Muslim community, specifically in the sisters population. Right now, I've done a lot of videos about brothers and same-sex attraction. I've been counseling brothers, so big shout out to the brothers from Straight Struggle and Strong Support, the two different communities that are helping brothers. But here today we're going to be speaking to our sister, may Allah bless her, who is going to be answering some questions, inshallah, about the history of kind of what's been happening in her life, what she saw in the Muslim community, and specifically how this doesn't really get talked about too much. People try to hush about it. And I'm going to go through a structure of the interview, but the purpose of the interview is basically to explore the personal and social development of a Muslim woman who experienced same-sex attraction within an Islamic context, particularly the psychological and social influences behind her experiences, the role of the environment. So we're going to talk about, like, her being in a school, all girls school, social media, cultural shifts, and so on. How masculinity, femininity were shaped in her perception, including intimacy, and to provide insights for education, awareness, and community information to inform our community about these issues. I know it's taboo, brothers and sisters. I know this is something very sensitive, but it is something very, very common. And I want people to understand, I'm probably the only one, very few people have actually addressed the sisters on this level and have made videos about same-sex attraction and how popular it is, and much, much more popular than in the man, I would say. But of course, it's usually focused on the men, but sisters kind of are able to slip under the radar. And we're going to discuss as to why women can kind of bypass the observations of family, society, and so on, and they can actually practice same-sex, behavior without being noticed or without being called to account or without even people knowing that they actually exist. So, this is anonymous, so the sister's identity is protected. I've changed her voice again to protect it because, well, the Muslim community sometimes doesn't really know how to deal with this problem. And sometimes they'll irrationally and unjustifiably, behave in a certain way. Here, this is not about judgment, but about understanding. Okay, I've been working in this field for a very, very long time. It is one of my specialties, okay, female sexuality. And I've dealt with a lot of such cases. Again, big shout out to all the sisters over the years who have come forward. And there's a lot more than brothers who have tried to, understand this issue, why this is happening in today's world more than ever. Okay, so we are going to start, inshallah. So, assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I hope you're doing well.
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, so again, you know what to reveal and what not to. I'm going to go through the questions and you can change things and kind of give me, general statements and certain things that might be a little bit, let's say, explicit. For example, the first question is, tell me a little bit about your family environment, growing up, about your culture, and so on. Again, without specifying things that might compromise your identity. Go ahead, inshallah.
Could you elaborate what you mean by family?
Meaning, yeah, like how did you grow up? How many siblings? cultural? Are you obviously from a Muslim family? You were raised in the West. You don't have to name like cities or this and that, but just background. Let's say, for example, like the continent that you're from, or the background that you're from, or family growing up and all that.
So I'm one of six. I have a large family, and so that like and sorry, I'm just a bit nervous. Bismillah. Okay. So yeah, I grew up in just a typical Muslim family, typical like African Muslim family. We went to madrasa. Our parents were praying and everything. Just the normal Muslim family. Culturally, very like hush hush about certain things. Um, so what's not like, for example, like how the Westerners they have like um it's like how the Westerners are kind of on like one extreme.
Mhm.
We're kind of like on the other extreme where it's like they'll talk about everything and we won't talk about anything at all. And they kind of like expect problems to go away that way. I don't know whether it's the same with like Arabs or South Asians or anything, but at least that's how it was with us.
Okay. What kind of values did your parents emphasize usually when, like, was it modesty, relation? Were they focused on raising you as a Muslim woman?
Uh, Modesty,
Mm-hmm.
they were always, even if it's not really like, even if it wasn't always like proper jilbab, it was always um covering, you know, though the way that some parents do things and stuff, they don't really explain why you do it. And the why is really important. Like because a lot of people don't are not to follow blindly, especially like maybe like our parents' generation, but a lot of people if they don't know why they're doing something, they're gonna abandon it whether like secretly or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but you would say you were raised in like an Islamic environment. You were told halal and haram, and your family was in a sense modest.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. You said you attended like madrasa. Can you tell us a little about that? Was it an all girls madrasa? Was it mix? Was it?
I attended different ones. So like when I was little it was mixed because the segregation isn't as much emphasized. Versus when you're like a teenager or like because you're still kids, you're all kind of like the same in that sense.
Mhm.
So so I went to madrasas when I was little. Like there sometimes I only went to like just Quran, which wasn't really the best for me. I kind of my teachers were really harsh. Like some of them, like the way they teach is like how they teach in how they teach back home, kind of. So like with the, it's a bit, it's not good.
With the stick,
Um,
you would say?
like utensils.
Hmm.
Um, but um, that's like how even as in the UK, it's like I did have that experience. That kind of pushed me away from wanting to be close to Islam and stuff. But some madrasas were alright. Um, it was just mainly Islamic studies, like stories or like Ibn Sirah when I was a child, alhamdulillah.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, alhamdulillah, that was just my madrasa experience. It changed when I became a teenager. That was like when, like, the fitna kind of was there.
Okay. Can you tell me, like, so did you go to an all girls madrasa at some point or all girls school in your life?
Yeah, my secondary school was all girls.
Okay.
My madrasa from when I was 15 was all girls
All
as well.
girls. Okay. Type. So let's get into early feelings and awareness of the SSA. When did you first notice that your feelings towards girls were different?
Um, I noticed that I started getting like heartbeats around uh, other females, like and it wouldn't be anyone. Like people think that when like women have these feelings that they're like attracted to every female on the planet. So it doesn't work like that. It's like how somebody is attracted to. let's say let's say a woman is attracted to a man. She's not going to be attracted to every man. She's just going to be attracted to that specific guy. Um, but it was like, so I started getting like kind of like nervous, and I couldn't understand why. And it'd only be around a specific people if that I was attracted to specific girls.
Mm-hmm. At what age was this usually?
I was 11.
Okay, that was the first time. Okay.
That was the first time I ever felt it. I was 11 years old.
Okay. Did you understand what these feelings meant at that time?
Not really, no. I just understood that I felt really, really, really nervous around this one girl, and I didn't feel like that with other girls.
Okay.
It was just her.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting what you said about, how girls are not attracted to every girl. It's kind of different than for men, where men in general will be mostly attracted to majority of women. Women have more specific attraction and specific directions when it comes to attraction. Okay, so did you confide in anyone about these feelings? What was their reaction? Did you talk to anyone about how you felt, or how did you start understanding these?
I never spoke to anyone for the first few years because I knew how the reaction would be. I felt like when I was young, I always kind of knew how people. I could always kind of tell how someone would react to something, to certain news. I was like, I always and I knew that I'd just be treated like I'm disgusting. So I didn't even want to go there. I did start confide when I found people who had the same issue. I found some sort of comfort there,
Okay.
and it was nice with them. The problem is that when you speak to these kind of people, what they do is that they egg it on, they encourage it,
Huh. Okay.
they, they encourage it, and that's the big issue because our deen prohibits it. It prohibits a man and a woman a man and a man being together, and a woman and a woman. But when you go to like this group of people, they kind of like encourage it. They say, "Oh, it's fine. It's fine." They encourage. They say it's love. Like, why would God be against love? That's their mentality, and that's why it's so dangerous for people to not be aware of this because this is how you could lose your child.
Mm.
This
Okay.
is this is how you could lose your sister, your niece, anybody. Like, we
Right.
have to be able to stop putting our heads in the sand like ostriches.
Right.
Like, I don't know if I'm making sense,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Were the people who were encouraging this kind of behavior, as you said, this group, were they Muslim, non-Muslim, a mix?
they were non-Muslims.
Okay, so was it in the all-girls school that this started happening? How did you find this group of people? Like, how did you guys, let's say, how do women know that, okay, this one also has same-sex attraction? Okay, let's talk about it. There's a group now. Like, tell me about how this group came to be about and your experiences with other women in terms of getting to know that they have same-sex attraction. How do girls know that other girls have same-sex attraction?
It really just depends because a lot of people are not going to be open about it, especially because when I was going to school, even though it wasn't a super long time ago, there was still a stigma around it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to like, and this was only like a few years ago, this was like not a long time, but some people were open, and um, a friend that I was really close to, I became friends with her. She was open about the fact that she was bisexual, and this was something that was considered very brave. Not like she'd get hate for it, but it's because it's just something that people weren't used to. And I found comfort in her. She always just seemed so like sure of herself, so um she seemed like she had like conviction in herself, I guess. And it made me comfortable. It made me hate myself less to have people around me like that. And granted, a lot of my group had the problems. Like, some would be more open about it, some would not. Two girls in my group were dating, but it's like having a friend like that. Like, you attract like-minded people.
How many people
And
were in this group? Just out of curiosity.
I don't remember.
Approximate.
Approximately like 6 to 7, maybe even 8.
Okay, and all of them having same-sex attraction.
Majority of them.
Okay.
One didn't. One was like straight, but the rest no.
Okay, and how many of these were Muslim?
I was the only Muslim.
Okay, okay. All right. So, how do you think like being in all girls school shaped your emotions and sense of attachment to girls, be it in the Muslim school or non-Muslim school? How did you?
Um, in the non-Muslim school, it was okay because I didn't have direct I I didn't have really much attraction to like the people who went there. Like it'd be like I had crushes and they would be very um no. There would be very like it'd be I'd have I think I only have a sorry I think I only ever had one crush or two crushes. Yeah, two crushes in that school. So
Mhm.
it's like I could avoid them because we weren't in the same classes. Because I hated how I felt around them. Like it's not like I liked it.
Yeah.
I really hated it. Like I felt disgusting. I just wanted to get rid of it because I knew it wasn't natural. I knew it wasn't normal to feel like this.
Hmm. Okay. And what about in the Muslim school? How did that change, or how were you?
In the Muslim school, I had an issue because the girl was in my class and we were friends, and it was like I was struggling on how to figure out um how to deal because it wasn't like just myself. It was very mutual.
Hmm.
It was like it was very like touchy, and it was very like sisters would like I don't know if anyone's ever been in a homoerotic friendship, but when you're in that type of friendship, you both like each other, but you don't want to admit it because you don't want to ruin the dynamic. But it's also you kind of act coupley, if you will.
Hmm.
Like you're very affectionate. You're more affectionate than you are with your normal friend. You like hug each other more. You relax on each other more. You hold hands more. You know get any excuse to touch each other in like a non-sexual way.
Okay.
And it's I don't know if I'm making sense
Yeah.
about it. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. When did you know, like, started feeling the whole, like, the sexual attraction, or you're fighting that, or how did that dynamics work? Did you also notice that type of romantic or intimate behavior amongst other students in the madrasa or in the Islamic schools?
So it started off, we were actually okay friends. Like, we were normal friends at first. The attraction only really started to get stronger towards like the end of me attending that school.
Hmm.
It wasn't the first like half, I'd say, of me attending. We were normal friends. We'd laugh. We'd just act normal. Uh, my last year was when it started to become quite strong. Like, because keep in mind, you know, when you have experiences that like push you away from Islam, like for example, my teacher was very aggressive when I was a child. Um, he it made me kind of push away because I always thought Islam's really aggressive. People are aggressive, so I wasn't really practicing even though I was attending all of these schools. So I was like kind of discovering myself and figuring things out, and then it's like I I also started speaking to this friend on like a deeper level about stuff like, and I found out she also had certain experiences, and it kind of felt I kind of wait. So I'm losing track of what I'm saying.
No, it's
Forgive
fine.
me.
No, you're good. You're good. Continue.
Um,
So I'm trying to ask you again, like, when did you know, realize the sexual desire towards women, towards woman, towards this woman specifically, that it turned from
it
being
was
friendship into sexual desire?
it's when we got closer, when we stopped being just friends in like classroom and stuff. We were able to message each other. We were able to call each other. We um it was just when we got closer and I realized how much I liked being close with her.
Hmm.
Kind of like I
Okay.
really liked being close with her. I felt like she gave me that feeling of being wanted. Not like sexually even, but just wanted, like just loved. She gave me that feeling, and that I think that's why I was attached to her as well, because it really did feel like mutual.
Okay.
It didn't just feel like I was just chasing after someone, but not chasing, but it didn't feel like I was just putting my energy into someone who didn't care about me. It's like I really felt cared for by her as well.
So would you say that first, for a woman to have this kind of sexual, for it to manifest into sexual behavior, that a woman has to be emotionally connected first to the other woman and they feel comfortable with each other enough to now take it to the next level?
Not always.
Okay, not always.
Not always.
So sometimes
Not
it can
always.
just be purely sexual.
Sometimes it can be purely sexual, because with this friend it was emotional, but with most women, most SSA I've experienced, it is sexual.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with most women, even as I'm alhamdulillah getting better and I'm like pushing away from experiencing these feelings as strongly, I still feel like it is sexual. It is always, because it's like a woman cannot give you what a man could give you. You know, a man has for example, it's like we already have enough stress with our own lives, and it's like another woman cannot help you with that stress the way a man can. It's always just sexual. It's always just because she's pretty or just because she has this nice body or anything like that. It's not emotional most of the time.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of what you noticed in the school, in your experiences through the non-Muslim school, the Muslim school, how popular with this kind of behavior and this kind of interaction amongst girls?
In a non-Muslim school, it was more popular because it was less bad
Mm-hmm.
because these are kuffar, you
Right.
know. So this like as I progressed through the years, it became more and more normal. Like I knew girls in my year who had dated each
Mm-hmm.
other, um, who had like gone out with each other. Like it was very like my friends also were involved in this kind of stuff. So it's a lot more like obvious or like
Yeah.
supported because this is what society wants. This is what they're progressing towards. You know.
Right.
Um, in the non-Muslim school, obviously, it was more covert. At least within myself, I found like me and my friend didn't act like our other friends. That's what I noticed.
Right.
We
Okay.
didn't act like that.
But
So
in the Muslim school, was it like, was there other girls? Would you think that it was happening, even though people were kind of keeping a hush hush, it was still quite popular?
I know I'd say it was definitely hush hush.
Okay. It was hush hush, yeah. But was it popular though? Were girls engaged in this kind of behavior?
I didn't really see it much. I only saw it with like I saw it with another sister because for example, you know how ladies like how women they're quite touchy with each other like in an inappropriate way.
Right.
I'd see that kind of stuff happening.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is. Like a lot of girls, they will do that. And that's what I was saying at the beginning. They can kind of get away with it. Like people are confused. Like, are they just being girls? So a lot of girls, for example, I don't know, you can tell me, what do you think about this? But a lot of girls dismiss their sexual behavior with each other, that inappropriate touching, by just saying, no, no, this is normal for girls. Like we do this anyway. Like it's just normal for us. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly how they look at it.
Yeah, but a lot of times is well, most of the time it's actually not normal because it is haram and it is sexual and it is kind of like just an excuse actually to touch each other and to actually enforce SSA behavior.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's not normal at all. It's like, when someone justifies their sin to make their sin seem less bad.
Yeah,
It,
and
it it's basically like that.
you got it right on. You hit the nail on the head exactly. And that's what it is. Okay, let's move on towards pornography and social media exposure. When did you first encounter social media, SSA or SSA online videos, things like that? How did that push towards, for example, pornography, and what do you see in this kind of field?
Um, Social media, I wasn't really into. I wasn't really. I only started really getting into it when I was around like 15 or 16. Um, so it wasn't like as in like social media and pornography together. But in terms of pornography, I was introduced to it through a friend when I was like 13, 14.
Hmm. Okay, and it
And
was it was again like so girls sending each other videos or how was or showing videos and was were these like SSA type of videos, meaning like girl on girl type of stuff?
yeah, the first one who ever actually recommended lesbian porn to me was my friend.
Okay, and like would she show it to you or send you videos or you
Yes,
guys?
she sent me a link. Like the first, she was the person. You know that friend I mentioned that I was in school with, the one that was open about being.
Right.
Yeah, that was the friend who sent like, cause um yeah, she was the person who sent me the SSA type of video, and she sent me another one, like another video as well.
Okay. How did that influence you? Like how did it get you addicted to it? Did you start noticing being more drawn to it?
Kind of, kind of. I say I started off like it's just because it's the novelty, you know. When you're like a 14-year-old, I feel like I don't know whether it differs for boys, but at least when you're a 14-year-old female, like when you're introduced to something like that, it's like so it makes you want to watch more because
Hmm.
it's just so new.
Hmm. Okay. And how did that influence your views on intimacy, desire, attraction? Did you feel like that fed into your desires for same sex for girls? Did you feel like it influenced you? How did it change your perception on?
Um, I don't know how to explain it really. It's like it just made me progressively like desensitized, and it made me like look at things very unrealistically. Like
Yeah.
because like pornography does that to you, you know. You like a lot of people when they're like watching these videos, they don't realize like it's just so many behind the scenes, like horrible behind the scenes,
Hmm.
and that will like how do I say this? Like there's so much that goes into it. Like even
Yeah.
the way the actors are created.
Hmm.
But
Okay. Would you
yeah,
say that girls in the school or what you've known about other women, whether in your school or whatever, what you have kind of covered in your understanding of SSA and women interacting with, would you say that it's quite common for women to be curious and to start, a journey into pornography and into videos about lesbian behavior and lesbian sex and all that?
kind of. I sometimes think with with pornography, I sometimes think with it happens equally in person as with the porn because I've observed that like when I was in school, I had two friends. And this is when I was a bit old. I was around 16.
Hmm.
Um, with my friends, like my friend was straight. It's very common for ladies to like try things out. You know, it's common for women, like even like it's a lot of women watch porn. You've already said that in your other videos, but a lot of women watch it. So that already affects like perception, and then there's also like there's this like encouragement to like try. So I had a friend, for example, one of my friends in school gave my other friend, um, did something intimate with my other friend, like sexual, and she was straight, claiming to be straight. So I feel like this is the extent of like how people try and make abnormal things normal, because that's not normal.
Okay. Would you say that that straight girl after that experience start changing her perception and her behavior towards SSA or
I don't believe she did. I believe she had something, but I don't believe she ever stopped considering herself straight because of how normal this. The problem is just how normal
so would you say that a
environment.
lot of girls would be like, no, no, I'm straight, but I can experience with this. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm a woman. Women do that anyway, as you said, like it's kind of
Yeah,
normalized. So would you say that
yeah,
women still identify as straight and they'll say, no, no, I'm straight, but they're experiencing SSA type of behavior and experiences with other girls?
yes. 1,000% yes. There's, I've met multiple Muslims. For example, I'm not even talking about the non-Muslims. I've met multiple Muslims. They have feelings, but they can't describe. Like they will still just call themselves, or they refuse to address it.
Right.
And then you have ladies who call themselves they'll say, no, I'm straight, this is normal, just trying things out. Or like, it's like, because people don't want to accept that this is not normal. It's not normal for you to like kiss your friends or for you to do sexual things. It's not. The only person where you should do that with is your spouse. But they do just call themselves straight. They do just even. I think the SSA thing is a lot higher than people let on.
Yeah, 100%. It's so common. But again, as you said, and rightly you said, that a lot of them will just be like, no, no, I'm straight. I'm straight. This is what girls do. Like, it's normal for girls to do these things. It's normalized. No, no, I'm straight. I consider myself, of course, I'll never. But they will literally have sex with a woman. Not one, two, three, four. Even go through high school and university by engaging in this kind of behavior. And some of them have even said, and let me know what you think about this. Some women have even said that it's almost like feels more halal to be with a woman or to look at female pornography than to, a'udhu billah, be with a man or to look at a man. What do you think about that?
Sorry for laughing.
No, it's fine.
I just how does it like if I feel like it feels like I was thinking, Lut,
Yeah,
their city was turned upside down because they engaged in it.
yeah.
And yet sisters and yet you have people thinking that it's more halal for a woman to do that versus they're both are disgusting and equally bad, but it doesn't make that's the silliest argument I've ever heard. No, it's haram. It's haram, and I don't know why the people are finding ways to act like it's normal and good, because when you deal with it, you realize how harmful it is.
Would you say that when it comes to female experience, sisters, women in general, with same-sex attraction, would you say that a lot of them are like full-on lesbians or more like bisexual, bi-curious, where they kind of like oscillate and swing between, and then most of them will, in a sense, hide it, and then probably get married to a man in the end anyway? What do you see?
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly how it is. It is a bisexuality because you very rarely see people like calling themselves like full on lesbian, or even if or they won't even give themselves a label. But it is literally just they're just experiencing it's because it's like I guess it's less of a guilt because there's not going to be as like if you do it secretly you're not going to have as many consequences because it's not like being in a full-on relationship with a man and like people finding out and it's very like it's undercover kind of
Mm-hmm.
like women do these things secretly. They'll be like at their friend's house or it's just very hush hush. Women can get away with sorry, I don't know how to find my word.
That's fine. I understand. Yeah, because they, as I said at the beginning, kind of like they slip under the radar. It's not because it's such normalized behavior amongst girls. I mean, I was a school principal, as you know, for many years, and a general manager in Islamic schools. And we've had like the female branches that I would have to visit and inspect and so on. And the amount of same-sex behavior that would be there, and obviously as a school principal and counselor, you'll get to hear of the problems, right? They come through your office,
Yeah.
and the amount of sexual behavior amongst the girls with each other, and then it's almost like I don't know. You let me know what you think, but when it came to the boys, like the shame and a lot of times when I talk to men, like there's a lot of like depression around it. There's a lot of like shame for the men, but for the women, it's more like, no, well, it's just kind of normal. Girls are just experiencing, no, we're not gay, we're straight, we just love each other. Girls they do that. It's normal. Like, yeah, guys is nasty. Guys, they shouldn't do that. But girls, it's like, we're okay. It's like not a big deal. We're just curious. What would you say to that?
Yeah, there is more of the shame. Like even within like friendships, for example, like I'm sorry, I have um I always like to bring examples when I speak. Like I was speaking to someone and he was like girls act so gay. Like I was talking, he was like girls act so gay. Like if it was like You can imagine if I was to call my friend handsome.
Mm-hmm.
You have women calling each other beautiful and wifey and I want to marry you and all of this stuff, but like, so it's like there's that. I think that's why like, the incident rate isn't as high with men because they have that shame that stops them in the first place. They know what people are going to say to them. They know, so like they try and like grab their desire by the reins, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But women, there's not. It's very you're very comfortable with each other, and so it's like, and I think that's why, like, even society, they're like, there's no issue. Like, if two women hold hands, then it's not as disgusting as two men holding hands.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But
Okay.
so what
No.
you originally
No,
said,
no, no. That's good. That's good. Let me move on to another question. So you did mention one time to me that girls do engage in certain sexual acts together, such as sometimes watching certain things together and even pleasuring themselves or each other or so on. I know it's a bit taboo, but can you comment on like kind of how or what happens? Like how does it lead to that level of comfort where women can actually go to that level where they actually start now physically engaging with each other, with pornography, with joint, uh, watching things together, or pleasuring each other. Like how does it work?
I don't know how to really explain it. It's not right. It like starts off sometimes before the pleasuring thing. Sometimes it starts off as like nude pictures. Um,
So do girls send each other nude pictures to like verify each other's bodies or give feedback or stuff like that?
it won't even be like feedback. It's like you just sometimes you crave validation, you know, and sometimes, especially if you're insecure about your body or how you look, like it really like, and it's very common for ladies to send each other pictures and like in like underwear and stuff like that. Um, but it is kind of a validation thing. It is kind of a validation. I don't know how to explain it
Okay,
because
so like for example, like I've heard about this a lot, and women have said that a lot. But it's like a girl like kind of feels like insecure a little bit, and then she'll send a picture to her friends, like in underwear, exposing her aura, sometimes even naked. Would you say that even happens like naked?
yeah, it does happen. Like,
Okay. And then they're like kind of like, oh, what do you girls think? Do I look good? Am I fat? Am I this? Is that kind of like how it works? And the girls will be like, no, you look amazing, you look hot, this, that.
kind of, but then also at the same time, sometimes it just happens where like you send each other like pictures of your body. Like, it's like sometimes it's not a validation thing. It'll be like, oh, it's sometimes it's like, oh, you'll complain about being insecure, kind of, and then it's like you haven't, yeah, and then people are like, oh, well, you haven't got anything to be insecure about, and then the person kind of goes on, it's like, and it reaches the point where it's like they see your body, kind of. But I don't know how to explain how it starts because it's very different for each person. With like in some instances it does just happen, but other instances it does go on and on and on and on until it reaches that point. But sometimes it is like, am I fat? I feel insecure. I do feel like, so it's not like it's definitely not the same for each person.
Right, right. And so different from men, for example, because men, like guy friends, would never, ever, ever, ever send each other like, oh, look at my, whatever, like to show themselves. A'udhu billah, Uh, guys don't even send each other selfies or anything like that ever. So what a big difference and a staunch difference. But let's move on to another point. Okay, putting aside pornography, what do you have to say about like smut? I know you asked me about that and girls reading erotica and word porn and audiobooks and all that. How common is it, and what do you have to say about that?
It's very common. Most, like, even if it's not like SSA related things, it'll be like the straight stuff. Ladies just really like to read that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's really sexual. Like, it's not like people don't understand. Like, it's not like we're reading. It's not, well, not me. Alhamdulillah, I don't read this stuff. But it's like it's it's not like you're just reading like a fairy tale book. These are very, very, very sexual books. Like it's like you're watching it happen in front of you. So it's like the female equivalent of porn. And obviously women watch porn too. Um, but it's very um yeah, it's very explicit, and sometimes it's like if the novelty wears off, you can also go further and further and further. But it's a little harder to go further than it is with porn.
Yeah.
Because yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the next chapter, which is masculinization of women. What are your thoughts on the growing trend of masculine energy or identity amongst women, and how does that affect SSA?
Affects SSA. The masculinization of women. It's obviously not good. Like it's really bad actually, and and I was speaking to my friend about it, like about how women are going into like corporate work, like they're going into the world and everything, and like working and stuff. She said it's because men no longer want to take care of women, or women no longer want to be in the house. Um, that's what she boiled it down to, and I was like, I agree, because a lot of people they look down on a woman being at home. They look down on femininity. They really do. Unfortunately, people do. If a woman does want to stay home and she doesn't want to, in like free mix and do anything haram, she gets chastised for it. And how it affects us as it's like when you first act like when you first to be in a man's position, you kind of adopt the traits of men. You kind of start to act like a guy. You start to like be authoritative like a guy. It does make you. I remember because I used to be masculine, and alhamdulillah no longer, but I used to be, and it's like I found that the more I acted like a guy, not intentionally, it depends, because sometimes it's praiseworthy, but that's the problem. The problem is that it's praiseworthy. So it's like if a lady does act feminine, she's looked down on. But a problem I found was like the more and more I got into my religion and I started like actually like properly like, learning more about it, the more my SSA went down because I was no longer acting like a guy, so I didn't have like that need to like look after. Because weirdly enough, like you start to be attracted to women that you feel like you can. I don't know how to explain it, but when you become more masculine, you want to take care of everything. You want to be able to like
Is that
provide.
polarity? Is that polarity? You're gonna be attracted
Yes.
to the feminine. You're gonna be in a
Yes.
masculine energy. You're gonna be attracted to the feminine, taking care of her, nurturing her, protecting her. You start acting like a man. And society does promote that a lot. As we've said, you kind of like everything is encouraged. Women, even in media, right? Girls are like boss, strong, action movies. They're like now, action women, G.I. Jane type of stuff, right? Soldiers, boxers, everything. Would you say, though, that the lack of healthy feminine models, like whether in media or society, that pushes women towards just adopting masculine traits?
Kind of, but at the same time, I also feel like I feel like it's always starts from the home, because I feel like when you have a healthy household and like the mother is a real lady and the father's a real man, then even like no matter how corrupt the society is, to some degree you'll know where you stand and who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, in these situations, it's like the father will encourage his daughter to work, the uncle will encourage his niece to work, the brother will encourage. So it's like
So they,
men
they
will
basically
encourage.
encourage them to be men, basically, or to be manly.
Yeah,
Even the
yeah,
men of the house do that.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Like I remember I was complaining to my father about how I don't want to work a traditional job because can't wear my jilbab in the job. And he was saying to me, he was saying it's fine. The chef says it's fine. You can wear
Or even the
your
chef said it's fine, yeah.
I don't know. And he said the chef said it's fine. You can just wear a long loose jumper and trousers. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. This makes sense. That I have to take off my hijab in order to work. Take off what Allah has commanded me to work. And so it's the men who encourage. Even my uncle, like, I wanted to take on I wanted to do something, and he didn't like the fact that I would be doing it at home versus doing it outside. And I was just thinking, subhanAllah, where is like this masculinity that people like say that some men have, you know? Obviously a lot of men do have leader, but like a lot of men don't at the same time.
100%. 100%. Let's move on now. Faith, identity, and inner conflict. How these experiences affected your relationship with Islam, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with His mercy? How did you feel your identity and what you felt, your emotions, your desires, versus obviously what Islam teaches and all that? Did that cause any anxiety, any depression, any mental instability?
Kind of, yeah, because there's like I was always oscillating between wanting to practice versus wanting to, like, you know how people say live your life, if you will. So I was always between those two things. Um, I was always between those two things, and I always like it's like I was always stuck because on one hand I really, really wanted to be a good Muslim, but on the other hand it's like I guess it's like the experiences I had with my teachers, and at the same time, um, what I felt kind of like stopped me and said, well, you know, Islam doesn't accept how you are. And the worst thing is people encourage you, people from outside. And so, can I just say something small here before I go back to my original point? Okay. Please, if anybody is a parent watching this, do not just be comfortable with like your child being Muslim or your child going to madrasa. That's not going to help them if you don't watch who their friends are. Friends do push you. A lot of my friends pushed me towards that direction. A lot of friends I had, obviously, I had a mind of my own, and I had a choice whether I wanted to do. Because I can't act like people grabbed me by the reins. They didn't. But a lot of people don't realize like your child's friends matter a lot. Don't just be comfortable with the fact that they're Muslim or they have Muslim parents. Okay, make sure you watch who your child is friends with, because they can influence, they can push your child towards that way. They can even start to make that movement sound more rational than Islam, and that's how it felt for me when I was younger. So yeah.
Wow.
But because they'll say, oh, because you know sometimes Muslims act very aggressive, unfortunately, and then it's like it contrasts with how how the non-Muslims act. They're very soft. You know, they're like, oh, you can be whoever you want to be. You know, and so yeah, that was. But the what was my original point? Again, what was the question?
I was just talking about how your faith and your Islam, how were you able to reconcile that identity, or how to move towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and practice, or
Alright, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I was always conflicted, and I always felt like didn't I always felt like I couldn't fit in Islam. So I resolved, I had this stupid mentality that when I was older, because I felt like it was still true, despite everything. And it was like I was leading a double life, if you will. Like I looked Muslim, but I didn't feel it, I didn't practice it. But, and I wasn't wearing true hijab. Hijab also protects you from these things. I wasn't wearing the true hijab. I was just wearing what people made culturally acceptable. So I didn't So I just resolved as well when I was older to just go back to it then and just become Muslim then, and just and it was just a battle because and a lot of ladies that I've met who've had it as well, they've had that battle because they're like, oh well, should I don't know whether to practice or whether to act on my desires, because Shaitan will pull you and the society will pull you and people will pull you, and they'll try and make it seem like this is like something irrational that you're doing, like giving up your desires for like the sake of God. Something that's like, because you know everyone, you know. So it wasn't until something happened. Something happened that was very stressful for me, and and it was very like so scary that I started practicing my deen because I was so afraid, and that's kind of what like brought me back, if you will. It was something like scary that happened because I was never planning to practice. I was never planning to be like um a young person. and like Muslim at the same time. I had no belief in my heart, you know.
Subhanallah.
I hope this makes sense. Am I
Yeah,
making sense?
100%, 100%, 100%. So let's close it up with a few more questions. Where from now? Now you're practicing, alhamdulillah. Where do you see yourself moving towards now, and other women that you know how they feel? Is there hope for marriage for women in general who struggle with SSA, having a family? How is this going to affect their attraction to their future husbands or possible husbands? Is this going to be a problem even once they get married? The fitna of wanting or to be with other women or to look at pornography, for example, lesbian porn or anything like that. What do you see like going from now towards the future? Marriage, fitna, possibilities. What do you see?
I think it is possible for ladies in this situation to get married, but you have to like detach yourself from everything that's causing you to have these feelings in the first place. Because sometimes, like for example, social media, if you feel like you can't delete it, um, don't like cut yourself off from every single friend who even like encourages you towards it. So or anyone who has it, don't be close with people like that because they will drag you back. Don't befriend any liberal Muslims because they also will try and drag you back and will try and convince you that this is not no, this is okay. Allah is so forgiving, so do your sin and you can come back anytime. Or why is it even a sin? There's some interpretations that say this or that. Um, so first of all, and then once you learn more about religion and stuff like that, at least with myself, I found that like my attraction really did go down. It did go down. It was very interesting because I thought that I would like never be able to be attracted to men, and I thought I just at the beginning of my practice I just accepted that okay, I have these feelings. I can't do anything about them. I don't like men. I just have to cope. But I did find that attraction slowly start to happen as I became more invested in Islam. Alhamdulillah. So the deen does help you a lot. I'm not saying you're going to 100% get like your feelings towards the same gender will go away, but um, it does slowly start to. You will find yourself your feelings slowly starting to become less and less. There is help for marriage definitely. Because I remember you mentioned, Ustad, you mentioned that that women generally it's easier for them to revert back to heterosexuality versus like a man trying to not, you know.
100%.
You did mention that, so
Yeah,
it definitely can happen, but um, yeah, you have to be able to quit the social media, the pornography, because it all encourages you and the people around you, and learn more about the deen. That'll help as well. At least in my case, it helped. Um, we're going back to porn. Um, if you do these things generally, you won't. I don't know how to explain it. I'm so sorry.
that's fine. You're doing well. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, um, I found that like the woman's desire, like it kind of like once she's no longer once she's no longer masculine, it also starts to become more balanced, if you will. Like
100%.
your libido's not as like high. It's more balanced. So falling into pornography won't be as much of an issue versus like a guy falling into pornography. I'm not trying to like push this narrative that women don't
100%.
have desire because we do have desire. Of course, we have desire. 100% we do. But it's more so like it's different to that of a man's and it's more stronger in our cycle, like depending on where in the cycle we are.
100%.
But it does kind of like fix itself. It's like you don't really have to do as much of the work yourself, but you can definitely be married to a guy. You can have children with a guy. Um, it definitely can happen. 100%. I'd
100%.
say.
Okay. Just a few last questions. From your experience, like how prevalent do you think this is in the Muslim community?
Uh, um, I wanna kind of like take that question and kind of like amongst practicing Muslims, I'd say it's a little more. There's more of a rein on it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. There's more like it's better like it's better dealt with because people like generally people that practice and they try and like they understand that even if they have these desires, they are held accountable. But in terms of like the Muslim community, like people practicing, non-practicing it, I think it's quite common. I think it is because unfortunately people have this mentality where it's like they don't say this, but it's like even though we live in a kafir environment and we're surrounded by non-Muslims and all of this, somehow these problems will not affect us, but they do affect, because by default, if they're affecting the non-Muslims, they'll affect us. I'd say it's around, I don't know, I can't put a number on it, I can't put a percentage. I know ladies personally who deal with it.
Mm-hmm. There's a
Like,
lot. It's a big number, subhanAllah, from what I see in terms of me dealing with statistics and
yeah.
also my sample population of how, many have come and after these videos, alhamdulillah, very respectful, very, very, polite, very good sisters, who these are not the ones who are like, yeah, let's go, this is good. These are the ones who look, they understand this. They know that they need to do something about it. They know this is not good. They try to control it. It is what it is, right? They're trying to deal with it, as you said, to move on, practice better, have families, and hopefully live a decent life as a practicing woman. So it's so common, though. Now, what do you think that Muslims don't really raise awareness about this issue, especially when it's usually focused on men? Like obviously the story of Qawm Lut, that's what's in the Quran. It doesn't really talk about women in the Quran and their same-sex attraction. Even in the hadith is not so much about women. It's mostly towards men. So in society mostly and Muslim community obviously look towards men when this issue is brought about, same-sex or gayness or homosexuality. Why do you think that it's not so much, even though the prevalence of women having these feelings and this behavior is so much higher than men, so much higher, especially because again, with guys, it's more like they're gay or straight. Bisexuality, man, is to some people, it's even a myth. Okay, but in women, it's more like, it's not like gay or straight, it's more like, oscillating between the two or bisexuality or so why is it not really talked about? I think I'm one of the very few who talks about the female SSA.
It's I think it's a mix of like culture and lack of knowledge, because we like because it's not like we don't have this silly like stupid like hush mentality about some subjects in Islam, and like for example, like people in like I mean like in the hadith, like intimacy was spoken about, you know things like that. So it's like we didn't have this.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least in Islam, we don't have this like hush hush.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be quiet. Let's keep this under wraps like mentality. So I think one thing is an ignorance thing because we don't even realize that these things have been covered in our DNA. And second of all, I think it's culture. Like culture, like unfortunately, so many of like the culture, like for example, like if a lady gets her period, so many people don't even they don't even say the word period in the house
Right.
or stuff like that. So it's like this is the kind of cultures that we're among. So it's like okay, if we just don't address something, then it means that like if we just don't address it, then the issue will just magically be resolved by itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it is a mix of I think it's a mix of ignorance and I think it's a mix of culture and making things taboo that aren't taboo. Because for example, intimacy was never taboo in the hadiths.
Yeah. Okay. Last question, inshallah. What advice would you give the Muslim community, the imams, the preachers, the teachers? What would you tell them? What would you say to the parents, to everyone, as a woman who has gone through this, as a woman who struggled with same-sex attraction, as a woman who knows how prevalent it is amongst girls? What would be your advice to community leaders, dais, parents, imams, teachers?
Mm, first thing I'd say is like if you see somebody speak about it, don't chastise them because they likely know what they're speaking about. It's not like if somebody's speaking about an issue and it's like prevalent or like there's a problem going on or whatever. It's like just because you haven't seen it yourself, don't act like that person's lying. Nobody has a reason to lie. Nobody has a reason to start talking about something just for the sake of it. No one's speaking about it for fun. Um, for the imams, I'd feel like the imams just about to please talk about these things because what we're dealing with today is not what people were dealing with like 100 years ago. SSA is very, very, very common. Very common. I know ladies who have dealt with it personally. I know women who are non-Muslim who've dealt with it. It is common, and the more you bury your head in the sand, the more that it's just going to keep going. You have some sort of responsibility over your community. You have these people are like you have to address these things. You can't expect things to just fix themselves. And what I'd say to Muslims is stop pretending to be holier than you are. You know, one thing that really annoys me is this idea of like I had a teacher. He called it like this like how people have this kind of like hush hush. Stop pretending to be holier than you are. This is a real problem, and if you don't address it, then the non-Muslims will address it. And if you don't like try and figure it out with your children, or you don't try to figure it out with the society, these non-Muslims are going to take your Muslim children away from you. Even if it's not physically, they're going to colonize them, and they're going to convince them that their religion's barbaric and doesn't let them love who they love, even though Allah has reasons for why He's prohibited what He's prohibited.
Subhanallah.
It's so frustrating. And please be careful with who your daughters are friends with. I'd say your sons, but obviously we're vigilant. Like loads of people are very vigilant. They're so scared of their sons becoming drug dealers or becoming this or becoming that. But you don't care enough about your daughters. Like I have a relative and she was telling me, and she's only little. She was telling me how her friend was her friend was her friend was gay, and I was like, I felt so happy that she could trust me enough to talk to me about this. But it's like, be careful with who your daughters are friends with because these people do exist. They're everywhere. They're not just like select. You can't tell who is and who isn't, and they will influence your children. It's not like as obvious with women, especially with women. It's not as obvious. You could have a lady that's in a full jilbab, and she could be gay.
Yeah, I know plenty of them. Yeah, true.
So you have to be careful with who your children are friends with. Ask about their parents. Ask about them as well, because their parents could be practicing. They could be doing something else.
Subhanallah.
So be careful. Check on your children. Don't let them be alone with each other for too long. Make your daughters understand why it's haram. Why we shouldn't be. Why Allah has like told us that homosexuality is haram, or even like zina as well. Make sure you make that clear with your children, because then they'll know why they believe what they believe, and they won't be faced by these people.
Alhamdulillah. Golden words. Jazakallah khair. Really appreciate taking the time. I know we've gone through, probably like month and a half, 2 months of preparation for this, to have this happening. And alhamdulillah, by the permission of Allah, we're able to. I believe many people are going to benefit from your talk, from your experiences, and hopefully they understand that there are people that they can reach out to. There are people who understand this and can talk and can counsel them. Alhamdulillah, PIP coaches, we do that. We help people, and we try to explain to them, to help them understand their feelings, but also help them understand how they can move forward, what they can do, as you said, to get closer to Islam, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how they can shape their feelings towards more positive and more beneficial things, and more in line with the deen. And we offer that support. We don't judge. We just offer support and help people restructure their lives and lead better lives as Muslims, inshallah. So, Sister, Barakallahu Fiki, may Allah bless you and protect you. Really appreciate your time, and Jazakallah khair. And inshallah, we will keep in touch. And for everyone else who's watching, appreciate you guys. Please leave a comment in the section. Please be respectful. and let us know what you think, what's your experience. I've made quite a lot of videos. You can search in my YouTube channel and my Instagram on this topic, explaining to people female sexuality, the bisexuality, the duality of things, why the prevalence, what's the psychology behind it, how women are wired a little bit different than men, how that can obviously lead towards these sexual issues, and how culture and environment shapes the way sexuality manifests itself, and how Muslim communities can protect themselves and help by raising awareness and educating within the boundaries of Islam, of course. Barakallahu fikum wa jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.